Folks that are bypassing the middle belt exit ramp here are actually driving into the water here and getting stuck. There are a couple of vehicles that just drove in. We saw them at high speed, trying to think that they could beat the system here, get through the water, and came to a stop about a third of the way into the water. This is again at middle belt along I-96. The water is mostly on the eastbound side. There's a little bit of water now going into the westbound lanes of I-96. They may have to shut that down as well. But the backup is very, very extensive. It goes a long distance to the west. Farmington Road is the backup. The freeway is closed now at Merriman Road. Tell folks if they use the inbound Jeffries Freeway, get off this freeway as soon as you can before Merriman, because middle belt's as far as you go. And tell folks, do not try to attempt to go underneath this mess. This water is really, really deep, and deep enough now that it's going over the wall along I-96 into the westbound lanes. Again, this is East 96 at Middle Belt in Livonia.
Captain, you see a woman right there. She's standing in the water. Where are the people who were in those two cars that are now stuck?
They're in the cars.
They're still in the cars.
Yeah, they're still in those vehicles right there.
Wow, they're going to have to get some rescue people out to
those are the two we saw Robbie and Carolyn go in at high speed, thinking they could beat the water, beat the system. We saw a truck stay to the left shoulder and get through just a little while ago, and that was a larger.
Oh, they're opening the door right there. A woman's getting out.
Yep, let's watch.
Yeah, because the water rising right there. She's getting on the roof of her car.
Well, it'll go only so high, because then it'll go over the wall into the westbound lanes, and that's kind of what's happening. It's kind of trickling underneath the wall here, so it'll go high, and there's drainage here. But the pump's going to have to keep up with the amount of water that's down here that's coming off of the service.
She's crawling on the roof of her car.
Yeah, well, we've seen that happen before, and then we've seen helicopters come along, haven't we, in flooded situations.
Oh, my gosh.
And rescue people. She's going to be there for a while. You're going to need to get a truck in there to do that. You can see how deep the water is if you go a little bit ahead of this. You can see Brian will move the camera to the cars that are just near this overpass here and see how deep they are. There's a silver car right there. See how high the water is?
Cars.
Yeah, that's right. That's the middle belt overpass right there in the foreground.
Can you tell where this water main break happened? I mean,
yeah, you can see it up on the service drive right there. There it is. Right, see that? See the water cascading down.
So no crews are even on the scene as yet.
No. It looks like they're gonna have to get some folks in here, to shut down the water system, and that looks like it might have been a fire hydrant or a pump right there on the service drive. That's East 96 service drive at Middle Belt in Livonia. So they're going to have to shut this down upstream, so to speak.
Oh yeah, you see it going over into westbound 96. Oh, yeah. So people need to avoid 96 in that area totally.
Now watch this gravel hauler.
Yeah.
To give you an idea how deep this is, this gravel hauler likely will make it through. Let's see if he does. If he doesn't.
My gosh.
And the thing is, now with these vehicles in this water, there's also oil and gas that comes out of these vehicles that are in this water.
He is going right through there.
Yep. Let's see how he does here. See if he makes it through.
I'm surprised he's doing that, but
he's tall enough. I don't know if he should.
How deep do you think, because this gravel hauler, how deep do you think this water is since he's going through?
Those tires are how big? Probably 3.5, 4 feet, probably even bigger than that. Probably we figure Brian is saying now probably what he can see looking at the vehicles, a couple of feet deep here.
Okay.
At least.
Oh, see,
now here's a second-person driver getting out of their car.
Yep.
From what you can tell from your vantage point, I mean, should they try to walk through that water to get to land?
Well,
or what?
they don't have very far to go. The shoulder is right there, right next to the vehicle. So if they had to, they could. But now with all that water coming down, now look at the amount of the trucks coming this way, Brian. Look down the freeway. Look at the trucks that are going to try to go through this.
Oh my gosh!
This is like a convoy that is beginning. A whole bunch of them are beginning to show up here in a line, following that gravel hauler.
Well, and now there's a little pickup truck that probably has no chance.
No, and he should not do that.
That would be the one that's going to maybe bring this to a halt. What might end up happening is somebody might come in here, maybe a tow truck or a taller truck than that, come in and get those people off of those vehicles.
Well, that's what we're kind of hoping maybe somebody does this. One of these truck drivers pulls over, and of course maybe they're afraid of stopping in this water, that they're going to get stuck as well.
Yep. Well, let's see how this stake truck does.
You can tell it's a lot deeper than it was even earlier.
Oh yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
The water is still gushing.
Oh. It really is.
And
I mean, there's a lot of water coming off of that hillside right there down onto the freeway. And then what will happen, I think this happened a couple of years ago, and right around this same time, if you guys remember, there was a lot of water on the freeway here. In fact, our assistant news director, Glenn Barr, was on his way to work and got stuck in the water here and was on the phone talking to us. And remember, it also eroded the shoulder here, this wall, this hillside. You can actually see where that's already beginning to do that from where the water is gushing down. So you can actually see some of the water that's now cascading down, taking some of the dirt from the hillside down onto the freeway. That's where all that dirt is coming from. It keeps eroding it and washing it down onto the freeway.
Well, you just got to wonder how deep this can get if this water continues to flow and you have these two people like sitting and waiting on their cars.
Well, now you have the pumps here, and the pumps will, you know, they're positioned underneath these overpasses to try to remove the water when you have heavy rains. So I'm thinking that the pumps are going to try to keep up with the amount of water. I doubt they can keep up with this amount of water.
Oh, this is a huge amount of water coming through there.
But just a reminder again, this is in Livonia. This is 96 at Middle Belt Road. East 96 is closed at Merriman Road. East 96 is closed at Merriman. There are vehicles that are backing off the freeway.
More people now stuck.
Yeah, they're there. There's some. That's one of the other cars.
He needs to wade on through there and get over to that grass almost. I don't know if they're afraid to even wade through it. And I know we talk about this and give people warnings to stay with their vehicles, and I don't know.
But, but it sure looks like the water is rising.
Well, you know, at least now that we're talking about this, and I'm assuming there are a lot of people on their cell phones. I bet you the cells here are really hot now with information, you know, about this. That'll be good because we can get somebody over here, pull up alongside these cars, and then get these people off the cars.
Well, I'm surprised we don't see any emergency vehicles arriving yet. You haven't seen a police car or fire truck or any emergency vehicle yet, right?
Police cars are back. I can't tell whether that's Livonia down there at Merriman Road shutting down the freeway or that's state police up here on the service drive. No, I don't see any police cars at all, but that doesn't mean they're not, not here. Some could be unmarked, but it looks like they probably got to call somebody from the water department.
Well, now watermain is just gushing more and more water.
But in fact, there's water coming down. Look at the other side of that turnaround there. You can actually see water gushing down the other side of that turnaround from where the water is coming down here off of the service drive. So it started up here on the service drive right near the old Walmart here on the southwest corner of 96 and Middle Belt Road. And so somebody came along and hit that. That was our report, that they hit a fire hydrant or some sort of a pump here. And when that happened, the water just started gushing. And that was only within the past 15, 20 minutes. So that gives you an idea how fast the water is coming out of here and pouring down onto the freeway. And now, you know what? I actually see water. Look at the water is now, this is kind of an incline, so there's a slight hill to it. So we can follow the service drive back. If I can get Brian to do that, you can actually see the water going down the service drive, down to the next turnaround, and water is coming off of the service drive now down onto the freeway, back there about a quarter of a mile behind where it started here. So that means there are UPS is located right here, as a matter of fact. That's the UPS depot here in Livonia. So there in front of their place, there's water. You can see water actually gushing out of the ground right there, out of that service drive from the sewer right there. Look at the gusher coming out of there, the amount of water that's pouring out of that thing right there.
Yeah, you know, Dennis, the flooding is bad enough, and I would assume that all the residents in that area obviously have no water and should go under a water advisory, you know, at this point.
Boy, I think that's a good idea. And the other thing that concerns you is when you have this much water pouring out, how much that affects water in case there's a fire that happens in this area, that they would have to fight the fire under low pressure. But let's get ahead of the game here. First of all, we got to get these people to get off these cars. Get picked up by people.
How many cars are we talking about at this point? I know we pointed out 4. Are there any more than that with people on top? There are 2 right there. I know there are 2 up a little further. Are we talking about maybe 4 people stranded on their cars right now?
Brian believes four cars. The 2 where you see the people standing on top. There are service drive cars or vehicles that are up on the service drive that got stuck in the water as well. We can't see really any underneath the overpass to see if there are any underneath that overpass there. There's a truck up on the right shoulder as well.